Senator Chris Murphy came down today, and I want to say just a couple of quick words on Senator Murphy. One of the things that I really appreciate about the senator is he's been back in Fairfield 4 times since election day. That's huge. For those of you that have run businesses, you know how important it is to get out and listen to your customers. I would suggest that the senator is doing an excellent job of coming back here to listen to us, and he's coming here to do it. So we don't have to write, we don't have to email, we don't have to call, we don't have to talk to his staff even, we can talk to the senator. So Senator, I want to thank you for thinking about Fairfield, thank you for taking care of us, and thank you for coming out today.
Thanks, Mike. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate you guys having me here. Thank you to the library for hosting us here today. Thank you to a variety of elected officials who are here with us, including your great state senator, John McKinney, who's been a longtime friend of mine. We served together in the state legislature. And thank you all for caring enough to come down this afternoon and talk a little bit about a variety of issues that are gripping our nation right now. This is the first time that I've had a formal town hall here in Fairfield, and so I'm new to you, obviously, as the new junior senator from Connecticut. So I want to just take one quick second to tell you why I'm doing this, because not every United States senator still does these organic town hall meetings. I served in the House of Representatives for 6 years representing Northwest Connecticut, and I always felt that it was my job to go out and proactively figure out what people cared about. You know, you can sit in your office and you can just wait until the phone calls and the emails come to you, or you can go out and try to figure out what people care about. And so this is just the beginning of that mission for me. These are a little bit more formal town hall meetings, but what you'll also see me doing is coming to the local shopping plaza or the supermarket and setting up a card table outside for mobile office hours. This summer, you'll probably get a notification if you're on our email list or in the local paper that we'll be hosting a hike through the woods in which you can come and enjoy the outdoors and in a really informal setting, talk to your senator about something that you may care about. We're going to just try in as many different ways as we can to just open up an ongoing dialogue between all of you and me. Because my title shifted from representative to senator, but representative is still the operative word here. My job is to represent what you think should be happening in Washington, D.C., and the only way I can know that is by coming out here and having this conversation. What we're going to do here is I'm going to make a few opening comments. I'm going to try to keep them relatively brief. I'm going to try to touch on just 3 topics, and I don't want that to be the limitation of what we discuss here today. I just am going to try to talk about 3 topics that are sort of at the top of the news these days in Washington, and then we're going to open this up to questions. What we've asked people to do is just when they come in to write on a card your name and email address if you want to give it to us and the nature of the question you want to ask, and then we're going to call you up to the microphone sort of 2 at a time so that we always have somebody on deck to ask your questions. We ask that you keep your questions as short as possible so we can get through as many as we can, and we're going to try to get, there's a large variety of questions, so that's why we're just going to try to get to as many topics as we can in these answers. 2 additional points of information. One, I'm hopefully going to be coherent this morning because I've been operating on 0 sleep last night. The Senate was in through the night in Washington debating the budget. We finished up at about 5 a.m., so I went straight from the final vote to a plane to come back here to Connecticut. And I came back to Connecticut to stop by my in-laws, who actually live not too far from here in Fairfield. My wife grew up here in town, went to high school here, and it's our sort of second home, a very special place to us. And so for that reason, it's good to be back here. So let me start off by talking about both this issue of sequestration, a really ridiculous name for a pretty simple concept, automatic budget cuts that are going into effect across the country, and tie it into what the Senate did last night. So I imagine if you're like most Americans out there, you are absolutely sick and tired of hearing Washington gripped by this endless series of self-created, manufactured budget crises. Whether it was the fiscal cliff, or the debt ceiling, or sequestration, this has gotten out of control. Washington is creating these crises that are never-ending, and we're hurting our economy. Congress is hurting our economy by failing to come up with a long-term budget plan for this nation. And so last night, the reason that we worked so late into the night was that it was our first real attempt in a long time to set that long-term budget plan for the country so that we can stop getting caught in these crises. Both the House and the Senate this week, for the first time in 4 years, passed 10-year budgets for the U.S. government. Now, they're very different budgets, and so it's not going to be easy to reconcile the two. But for the first time, we're talking about the long-term fiscal health of the nation. Let me tell you just a little bit about the budget that we passed last night. We have a massive budget problem in this country. We are on an annual basis right now taking in, we're spending about 50% more on a yearly basis than we're taking in revenue. And that's due to two problems. One, spending is higher than it historically has been. We're spending about 24% of our GDP on an annual basis, but the money that we're taking in revenue is also at absolute historic lows. We're taking in only about 16% of our GDP in revenue, when we historically, normally when we balance budgets, we are at about 20 or 21% in each one of those numbers. So we're spending more than we normally are, and we're taking in a lot less than we normally are. And to my mind, that means that the approach to get to a balanced budget and to try to reduce our long-term debt should be balanced. That means that it should be serious about spending cuts. There's absolutely no way that you could fix the federal budget in the long run without serious spending cuts. But we also should recognize that you just cannot balance the budget if you're only collecting that small portion of your overall economy in terms of taxes. And so the budget that was passed last night, a controversial budget, essentially proposed a 1-to-1 ratio, that we would cut about $1 trillion in spending, and we would increase revenues through tax reform, which I can talk about later, by another $1 trillion.